In today's video, we are going to see how to communicate have to, has to, had to, and so on. The way how we are communicating have verbs, that is, I have this or that, it differs from the way how we are communicating have to, has to. When we are talking about keeping something, that is, talking about possessions, I'm having this, I'm having that, I have this or that. Just say I have everything, I have nothing, that's enough. But when we are talking about have to, has to, as it indicates our obligations, uh, we must give emphasis to have to, has to. We should feel and say, I have to, she has to. Uh, this is important when we are talking in the working environment. Let us see how many are actually speaking and how it should be actually. Many are speaking that I have to stop my studies for some reason. I have to stop my studies. This is how many are saying in English, I have to stop my studies. Instead, say, I have to stop my studies. Instead of saying, I have to stop my studies, say, I have to feel and say it. I have to stop my studies. And instead of saying, she has to explain again and again, instead of saying, she has to explain again and again, say, she has to explain again and again, because it's a responsibility, so she has to explain again and again. And many are having a habit of saying, I have to finish all the work by 5. I have to finish all the work by 5. Instead, say, I have to finish all the work by 5. Instead of saying I have to finish all the work by 5, say I have to finish all the work by 5. So give a feel to what you're saying. Feel your obligation and say it. And in the question, many are having a habit of saying, have you to stop your studies? Have you to stop your studies? Instead ask, have you to stop your studies? Have you to? Feel and say, have you to stop your studies? And instead of asking, has she to leave immediately? Has she to leave immediately? Instead ask, has she to leave immediately? Has she to leave immediately? And instead of asking, have they to finish all the work by 5? Have they to finish all the work by 5? Instead ask, have they to finish all the work by 5? Have they to finish all the work by 5? So give emphasis to have to, has to. In the same way, for the past, give emphasis to had to, feel it and then say it. Instead of saying I had to stop my studies, I had to stop my studies. This is how the practice of many. Instead say, I had to stop my studies, I had to stop my studies. And instead of saying she had to explain again and again, she had to explain again and again. Instead say, she had to explain again and again. And instead of saying, they have to finish all the work by 5, they have to finish all the work by 5, say, they had to finish all the work by 5. They had to finish all the work by 5. Hope it is easy to follow the differences. And in the questions, instead of asking, have you to stop your studies? Have you, I'm sorry, had you to stop your studies? I'm okay in this. They say that, had you to stop your studies? Had you to stop your studies? They don't point out the past verbs. Many don't have a bit of pointing out past verbs, They speak to themselves. Whenever they are using a verb to, they don't say it louder. They didn't give stress to it. So ask, had you to? Had you to stop your studies? Instead of asking, had you to stop your studies, ask, had you to stop your studies? And instead of asking, has she to leave, has she to leave, just don't ask, has she to leave. Ask, Had she to leave? Had she to leave? And instead of asking, had they to finish all the work by 5? Had they to finish all the work by 5? Ask, had they to finish all the work by 5? Had they to finish all the work by 5? So this matters a lot. This differences matters a lot. And in the future, instead of asking, I will have to resign my job if there is a need. I will have to resign my job if there is a need. I will have to resign. I will have to resign. This is how the practice of many. Instead, give emphasis to will have to. Will have to. I will have to resign my job if there is a need. I will have to resign my job if there is a need. And instead of saying, she will have to explain again and again. She will have to explain again and again. Instead, say, she will have to explain again and again. She will have to explain again and again. And instead of saying, they will have to finish all the work tomorrow by 5. They will have to finish all the work tomorrow by 5. This is the practice of many. Instead, say, they will have to finish all the work tomorrow by 5. They will have to finish all the work tomorrow by 5. Any other questions? Many got a practice of saying, will have you to resign your job if there is a need. Will have you to resign your job if there is a need. This is the practice of many. Give emphasis to will have you to resign your job if there is a need. Will have you to practice saying will have you to resign your job if there is a need. And instead of saying will have she to explain again and again, will have she to explain again and again, instead ask will have she to explain again and again. And instead of asking, will have they to finish all the work tomorrow by 5? Will have they to finish all the work tomorrow by 5? Instead ask, will have they to finish all the work tomorrow by 5? Will have they to finish all the work tomorrow by 5? So this differences really matters in the working places. I will come up with what is next in the next video.